But according to a new study, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal is going to be a huge burden to America. So much for it being the salvation. AOC attempting to downplay some cost concerns, but these numbers, I'll tell you, they show you that it could cost the average American household in 5 key swing states at least $70,000 in the first year of its rollout alone. Okay, so clearly it makes no economic sense. But joining me now is someone who can certainly make that claim himself. He's the former Reagan economic advisor, Art Laffer, and now Medal of Freedom winner. Art, let me congratulate you again on that.
How are you,
Big
Trish?
honor. I'm really good.
Thank you very much. That was lovely.
Talk to me about AOC and this Green New Deal, and whether this would be economically sustainable in any way, shape, or form.
Well, as they have it, no, it would not be. It's a very large number. It would destroy the economy. What really bothers me, Trish, if I may say this, is the idea of Al Gore, who was a sensible, moderate person in this. He has always suggested a carbon tax that is offset by a payroll tax or an income tax, which would negate a lot of the negative aspects of trying to get a greener planet. But the Democrats have thrown that overboard completely, especially the AOC group, and they've gone for this wild and crazy thing of only taxes. Government spending is taxation, and what they're proposing would be catastrophic for the economy of the U.S.
Catastrophic. I wonder how much is sort of a charade and smoke and mirrors, and how much she really means, or for that matter, how much she really even understands, Art.
Yeah, I don't think they understand it. I mean, I wish they'd get a professional economist out there like the ones that were with Obama, like Jason Furman, or even Austin Goolsbee, or some of the others, Bill Nordhaus.
But even Austin's,
these
he's
people
too
should
smart
talk
for
about
this.
Austin Goolsbee, I mean, well, they shouldn't go for it. I mean, I don't know how far they've become political and no longer economists, but they shouldn't go for this. But now Al Gore was very careful on economics, made it explicit that his carbon tax would be matched exactly by an offset of either a payroll tax or an income tax to mitigate the damage to the economy. But no, not these people. They just wanted add-on taxes and add-on spending,
but then they
which would
increase their
collapse
power.
the economy.
You see?
It just makes no sense.
Then they are out there getting to choose the winners and losers. They're able to, fund the companies for solar panels, and they suddenly have so much more power because they're the ones that are controlling that giant purse string of American taxpayer dollars, which is consistently, I would say, over and over and over again, the goal. I mean, this is why Baltimore and other U.S. cities that are struggling so much are now being, put in the spotlight by the president, who's saying, okay, enough is enough, right?
Yeah, well, you're completely right. I mean, Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland, if you look at Louisville, you'd look at all of these cities that have had these left-wing policies, high minimum wages, city taxes, all of that stuff put on top of them. They've created a catastrophe. Like Detroit, can you imagine now, Trish, just for a second, in 1950, Detroit had a population of 1.85 million people. Today, the population of Detroit is less than 600,000 because of the taxes in the city, because of the taxes in the state. They've driven that state into bankruptcy, that city into bankruptcy, and if you look at the poor people who are still left there, they've been deprived of all their opportunities for prosperity. It's very sad. I wrote enterprise zones in the early 1970s, making tax-free zones in the inner cities. Why wouldn't one of these cities make it a tax-free zone?
Yeah, the president's talking about reviving some of that. Yeah.
And it should be done in the most hard. I lived in the south side of Chicago. In fact, the joke is that when my family and I moved to Southern California, my old neighborhood was no longer integrated. And I've lived in those neighborhoods my whole life there. And frankly, very simply, you need tax-free zones there to allow people to be able to prosper like everyone else in this country. You don't need to burden them with regulations, restrictions, requirements, taxes, and over-regulation. It's just terrible.
Hey,
and yet they just keep going, and they keep electing bad politicians.
Yeah, and you know what? Someone's finally calling them out on it. As I've said, the Republicans have been very reluctant to do that. Yeah, sure.
I want to ask you a question. You're from New Hampshire now, aren't you?
Yes. Born and raised.
You're very famous in New Hampshire even before you got on television. New Hampshire has an ability to get female politicians in very high levels. We are counting on you at some time, Trish, to go back to New Hampshire and become a senator or a governor of that state. You would be perfect. I mean, look at Marsha Blackburn here in Tennessee. She's the most spectacular senator anywhere. She's wonderful. You would make a huge deal, and you could be elected in a landslide. We need you desperately in the Senate, Trish.
Oh, my goodness. That's quite a recruitment push
and
there,
I'll be your
Art.
chief economist if you'd like me to be. And it's a zero income tax state. You don't have far to push. No sales tax either.
Oh, yeah. I know. People wonder how we make it. And somehow we get by. You're funny, Art. But you're always my chief economist,
no matter what. Fox would love you to do that.
Art
You're
Laffer.
the best.
You crack me up. You're the best, too. Thank you so much.